Newcastle 4, Leicester nil. What a dominant display and performance from Newcastle United. I mean, Jacob Murphy could have got a couple more goals. Isak could have got a couple more goals. To be honest, Newcastle could have scored 6 or 7. They were absolutely sensational. 5 big chances, 3.78 XG. Leicester didn't really have a shift. A very solid performance from the centre-backs. And I think Shah being back is always big for Newcastle. But the standout for me was Sandro Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes. That partnership. I watched the Liverpool game, I watched this game, and those two in midfield, that duo seems to be working. It seems to be blending. And I think the technical quality and how comfortable Newcastle were in possession today is one of the reasons they created so many chances, which is one of the reasons they dominated the game. They were comfortable in possession. They had technical players that could play out from the back, play the balls, and they had 3 good runners in attack. I think the balance and the way that Eddie Howe set them up was absolutely perfect, if I'm going to be totally honest. I thought Newcastle were incredible. And of course, yes, you did play Leicester. Leicester are a poor side. I mean, Ruud van Nistelrooy, when he was managing Man United, beat Leicester twice. He's now Leicester manager. But Leicester did batter West Ham and do 2-2 versus Brighton. They've looked a lot better under Ruud van Nistelrooy. So it was one of those games where actually, it wasn't maybe going to be as easy as Newcastle as it was today. I didn't think it was going to be that easy for Newcastle. And as a Man United fan, I was really, really impressed with how good Newcastle were. And in today's video, I want to talk about Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes in particular. I want to talk about Lewis Hall, how excellent he is, Isak, Anthony Gordon. We'll touch upon my general opinions on Newcastle's United fan. And I have to say, I'm very, very glad that I moved my attention away from that Arsenal game and focused on that Newcastle game, because Arsenal was sending me to sleep. And I thought, because I wanted to do 2 match reactions to the 3 o'clock kickoffs. And I thought, you know what? This Arsenal game is so boring. Who's going to want to watch a match reaction to that Arsenal game? It was honestly, I actually had a nap at half time. And I'm so glad I watched that Newcastle game today, because you know what? Even though I'm a Man United fan and don't really want Newcastle to win, but at the same time I don't really care, because it's only Liverpool, City, and Arsenal that I actually enjoy watching lose. It was just enjoyable to watch good football, and see some players, because I've always been a big fan of Eddie Howe, and I think that, to be honest, like I get criticism of him, I do, but I do also think he got nothing in the summer. And he's had such bad luck with injuries as well. And I think sometimes he could be stubborn. He needs to change it up more, of course. But yeah, I thought it was a really good performance from Newcastle. I thought they were very dominant. I think they were comfortably, on top of Leicester the whole game. First half, I think Leicester made it a little bit more difficult for them. But second half, once the first goal came in, I think it changed the game. And I think Bruno Guimaraes being allowed to get further up with his ability to create and change the game in the final third was very important. I think Tonali was a big part of that. I think Isak was fantastic. I think I used to praise Isak for being clinical. Today, he wasn't clinical. If he was more clinical and got that second goal, it would have been 10-10 performance from him, because the runs he was making behind the transition, his ability to dribble and carry the ball, ability to create space, running behind, everything is so good. And when you've got players like Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes that can feed that, and runners out wide like Murphy and Gordon, that kind of system really balances it out as well. Lewis Hall, fantastic, brilliant on the ball. What performance. I think he's really establishing a connection with Anthony Gordon as well. And I think that's such an underrated thing. When I look up when Man United have actually been good in the last, I'm going to say 5 years, because we've had 2 good seasons in the last 5 years. That was the 2 seasons where Luke Shaw and Marcus Rashford were excellent. One under Ollie, one under, of course, Ten Hag. Rashford's 30-goal season, and then Luke Shaw was unbelievable, went to the Euros, and then obviously happened under Ten Hag and Ollie. But it was because of the connection. And obviously Rashford's been poor for United. I'm not saying that one of the reasons Rashford's been poor is because Luke Shaw's been injured, but Rashford and Luke Shaw had this connection, and they're both so much better when they play with each other. I can't explain that. And I feel like Lewis Hall and the Gordon are starting to build a connection. And I think the Gordon's looking back to his best at the moment. I thought he was excellent. I know he didn't score today, but I thought he was involved in all 3 goals. Just gets up the flank so well. And I think Newcastle need a long-term replacement for Shah, who, again, excellent player, and probably a right winger, because I think Murphy was good, but I think there's better players out there. If you want to catch the big 6 sides, you need to invest in a right wing. And Mbeumo was my suggestion for Newcastle in the summer, and I'm quite surprised you didn't even try for him. I did say if you could get Elise, which you tried to do, that would have been unbelievable, but I think that was going to be difficult. Same with Nico Williams, but Mbeumo was my suggestion for Newcastle. But Semenyo even as well of Bournemouth could be a shout, and potentially another centre-back. I think with Botman's injuries, you could look at left centre-back, but I think with Shah's age, you probably want to look more right centre-back. But don't go spend 60 million on Gay. That would be silly. I think you would have been worth it for 50 million. But I don't think he's worth any more than 50 million, especially when there's actually so many good right centre-backs out there, like Dion Monday, for example. But I thought Bruno Guimaraes was just cheat code today in that more advanced role. I think And Newcastle have two world-class players in Bruno Guimaraes and Isak, who I know was a bit wasteful today. They do. And I think if they can build around Bruno Guimaraes and Isak and set up to get the best out of them, which is what Tonali's doing with Bruno Guimaraes, and they've got good players like Tonali, Lewis Hall's been excellent, and he's going to get better, Anthony Gordon. Newcastle have some really, really good players. And if they can just hold on to those players, have luck with injuries, and get some recruitment in January, I think Newcastle can still have a good season. And I still think that, despite recent criticism, I've always been quite protective of Eddie Howe. I've always liked him as a manager. Now, I saw this from Craig. He said Sandro Tonali just played a 20-yard pass from the number 6 domain that Newcastle have needed for so long. Direct, quick, accurate, through the lines. Isak should have scored at the end, but that's why Tonali has to stay in the position. And that was when I sort of first saw the game, and I thought, wow, what a pass, what a play, and that stood out to me as well. So let's talk about Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes, because I think it works. I think there was always question marks around it working, but I always said, for me, Bruno Guimaraes is best as an 8. I know he's been playing 6, but I always said he'll be best as an 8. But I've always felt that Tonali could be better further up. But I think Tonali's ability to receive the ball from the first line of defence and break up play means that he can do a 6 role. I think he's got the physicality and the technical quality to do well in the Premier League. So is Bruno Guimaraes. And I don't know if any of you watch my Man United channel, because it's daily videos on Man United. If you don't support Man United, you probably don't. But I did a video yesterday, and I said my dream signing for Man United, and I said it will never happen, is Bruno Guimaraes. I said everything that Manchester United need is Bruno Guimaraes, because we've got Agate that's unbelievable off the ball, but struggles on the ball, but is a warrior off the ball. And Agate has really impressed me. And then we've got Maino that doesn't have the legs to cover the ground off the ball and struggles off the ball, but is unbelievably technically good on the ball, can break the lines. And I said, if you put those players together, you have Bruno Guimaraes. I said, the things I would do for Bruno Guimaraes at Manchester United, and you won't like me for saying that, but I said that, Belieber was my more realistic option. But he's just such an excellent player, and I think him and Tonali worked well, because Tonali was holding down the base, giving Bruno the license to get forward and create, and he was getting the best out of him. And I think with Tonali's technical qualities, him being good, very comfortable building out, breaking out play, progressing the ball, it also helps Liverpool going. I think he set the tempo. Bruno Guimaraes complements that well. And I think Shaw, Hall, Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, and also Isak, you can add to that, are all technically good players on the ball. And that was seen versus Leicester today, because I think Leicester lacks so much technically that if you play Leicester and you have some technical players, because you're going to dominate possession that can really break down play and break the lines, you are going to beat Leicester. And that's the way about it. And I've always said this about Newcastle. They've always been elite athletically. I think out of possession, Newcastle are one of the best and well-drilled teams in the league. Man United for me are probably 20th, 19th or 18th in the league for out of possession in terms of ground coverage. And, no manager is going to succeed at Man United until we fix that, which is why, Amorim needs that recruitment done. But I've always said, athleticness is so underrated in the Premier League. And I said the reason that Newcastle can take Arsenal, Liverpool and City on in their day is because they turn that game into a physical battle. No team, I think, can run more than Newcastle. I'm a Man United fan. Half our players don't run. I mean, we've got Agate that he puts in a shift, and we've got Mason Mount puts in a shift, but we don't have many players that can run at United, and I think that's why United have struggled as in Man United. Whereas Newcastle, they've had a lot of injuries and a few, and sometimes I've missed players with technical qualities, which is why Shaw, Lewis Hall, Bruno Guimaraes, Tonali was so key today. But they can always outrun their opposition, and that's why they've always been able to be good in those big games. But today wasn't about outrunning; it was about having possession and breaking them down, and they showed their technical qualities, which they could only add to in the transfer window if they get it right. They were fantastic on the ball; they were dominant of the game, and Bruno Guimaraes being able to get between the lines and create play into runners was excellent. And I think you've got Joe Willock that's a really good ball carrier, can run from box to box if he can stay fit. Joel Linton is a physical monster. He's, a dual winner. He's going to win the battles. Longstaff is a workhorse. But then you've got Bruno Guimaraes, a technical creator, warrior type player, and Tonali that's technically comfortable in possession and can play as a 6 as well. And you've got a very good selection of midfielders there profile-wise, because I think, Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes are starters, Joe Willock, Longstaff, and obviously Joel Linton could compete depending on game state. But if it's going to be a physical game where you need someone strong, you've got Tonali. If you know that you just need to run, you've got Longstaff. But if you know that you're going to have abilities to actually have a bit of the ball and drive forward and be a threat in transition, you've got Willock. And I think Newcastle, with everybody fit, have quite a good selection of player profiles to set up and adapt to different game states. But yeah, Tonali really stood out for me today. I thought he ran the show. He covered so much ground. Tempo setting was top. His movement, his passing, creativity, IQ to break up the opposition. Thought he put in a defensive shift. Thought he put in an attacking shift. I thought he was excellent. Alexander Isak is now the third player to score 20 plus Premier League goals in a single calendar year for Newcastle, matched by Shearer and Andrew Cole in very good company. And that says how good Alexander Isak is. And to be honest, he could have got maybe one or two more today. And I thought he was excellent. I know he missed chances, but I think his all-round game and what he brings to Newcastle was excellent. 6 goals and 3 assists in the last 7 Premier League games. I was about to bring him into FPL, but I thought, now I'll stick with Nicholas Jackson because Leicester have looked better. Stupid idiot I am, aren't I? But 73 minutes played, 1 goal, 1 assist, 1 big chance missed, 2 big chances created, 4 key passes, 6 out of 8 dribbles, 7 out of 13 duels won. But 6 out of 8 dribbles for a striker and 4 key passes for a striker. You know, players like Haaland don't do that. That's unbelievable, his influence on play. 1 goal, 1 assist. I think, you know, with Callum Wilson being injured, Newcastle need someone that they can rotate in with because Isak doesn't always have the best fitness record. But I think, you know, excellent player there, Isak. And I've always said he can carry the ball, he can run at players, he can go out wide, he can go central, he's versatile, he can link the play. He's very good at making runs in behind into space, exploiting space, even drawing out defenders to create space for his opponents. And he links incredibly well with the Gordons and the Murphys. And I thought he was absolutely excellent today as well. And if, you know, maybe he could have been more clinical, but fantastic player. And then Lewis Hall's been unbelievable this season. As I said earlier, you know, he's really started to get an understanding with Gordon, Joe Linton. There was patterns of play. He's really improved his game defensively this season. He got called out for that a couple times last season. But among the under-21 fullbacks in the world, or top 5 leagues, forward passes, progressive passes, block shots, crosses into the box and 3 passes, pretty much all attacking stats bar block shots. He ranks third for his ability to progress play, break the lines, and he can invert into midfield. In terms of comfortability on the ball and his ability on the ball is absolutely top. But aerial duels, interceptions, passes, second, expected assist third. His influence on the ball, breaking the lines, helping Newcastle, I think, actually flow and progress down the left-hand side and build out as well. So comfortable on the ball. And I think Chelsea will regret selling him. I know Cucurella suits Enzo Maresca, but Lewis Hall would have been perfect for it. And again, this season, 16 games, 2 assists, 6 passes per 90, 85% accuracy, 1.7 key passes a game, 4 big chances created, 2.2 tackles per 90, 1 interception per 90, 2.5 clearances per 90, and 52% of his duels won, all at 20 years of age. Very interesting skill set, very good on the ball, ability to invert. And if you have a coach that knows how to take advantage of his technical qualities, he can be important to so many systems and so many stuff. I thought he was excellent today. And then I think Gordon did well and Murphy did well. 2 goals from Murphy, very good. I think he could have got like 5, but him and Gordon time their runs so well. They open up space well. They are not selfish. I think there's good players there. I think Gordon didn't score, but I think every goal, I feel like Gordon was involved in the run, in the pass, in the lead up, in the build up to every goal, in the pre-assist, even for, you know, his ball carrying and ability to make something happen was excellent. I think Gordon just getting down the lines, carrying the ball, taking on his man, running with confidence. What Gordon did today, he was probably arguably the best player on the pitch. You could even argue just for his ability he was driving the game. I almost felt like, you know, 5 assists for the season. Creatively, I think he's actually quite underrated. And I think he hasn't been as good this season as last season, but I think he's getting better and he's warming up. And I think, you know, him and Isak started a bit slow, but I also think because Newcastle weren't at their best and they weren't playing the most positive football, it was negative football at times. You sometimes can't blame the attackers when there's not much going on for them as well. But I thought Gordon was excellent. Anyway, Newcastle fans, thank you for watching today's video. Let me know your thoughts on the performance. See you next time. Bye.